Special characters in Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions definitely help you progress through the story a lot faster. But how do they do in PvP, especially against one another? Today, we're going to talk about special characters and how they rank from worst to best in PvP. Hi, I'm Mikey from Final Fantasy Tactics Live Tournament, and from the past two videos, we've been talking about generic characters only. We ranked them from worst to best for PvP, and then we went and suggested some builds to try out on your own to get you back on the winning track. Today, we're finally going to focus on special characters, and in the same vein, we're going to be ranking them from worst to best. Like before, we ranked our characters based on a ranking system. Highest on our list for our ranking criteria is value. And value is the ability to do damage, but also to mitigate damage to yourself or be able to sustain yourself. You kill a lot, you die less. Second, we're going to be looking at each character's primary ability set. Does the set provide value? Is it applicable in many situations? Or is this character better off just being some generic job? And third, we are going to be looking at equipment. Namely, do they need equipment to make them good, to bolster weak stats? Or do they have access to equipment that would benefit them in a PvP scenario? Now that we've got the ranking criteria out of the way, let's get into it, shall we? Starting us off in the low tier, at the bottom, number 14, Construct 8. Construct 8 is a giant robot, and that's all he ever can be. You can't switch jobs, you can't change his abilities, and you can't equip anything. All 4 of his abilities cost HP to use, and simply just aren't that strong. Because of his inability to adapt, and him just being a giant target, I can't recommend Construct 8 for any PvP match. Next up at number 13, Byblos. You get Byblos in mid-light deeps, and he's pretty powerful for a monster. But again, that is what you get, a monster. You can't change jobs, you can't swap his abilities, and you cannot equip any equipment. So that leaves him pretty defenseless compared to all the other special characters. He does have an interesting ability set, but because of his lack of equipment giving him buffs or any kind of defenses whatsoever, he does suffer at just the extraordinary power of other special characters' abilities. And because of that, I cannot recommend him for PvP. At number 12, the mysterious Cloud. Like in Final Fantasy VII, Cloud has access to limit breaks, and while visually spectacular, their damage is not. You do have quite a large charge time, can be mitigated with swiftness, but when you're in a PvP scenario, swiftness is not the kind of passive ability you should be taking. In addition, you absolutely have to equip Materia Blade for limit abilities to work, and it is not a potent weapon. While Cloud does have decent HP and physical attack stat growth, his primary ability set is just so weak and doesn't provide enough value to make this character a reasonable choice for PvP. Topping off our low tier at number 11, Mustadio. Mustadio comes equipped with leg shot and arm shot, which immobilize and disable your target, and they are incredibly valuable. Granted, his best feature is being able to equip a gun, so pairing these abilities with a gun is tremendous, but that's where it ends. Beyond immobilizing and disabling your opponent, if they have any kind of protection against that, Mustadio doesn't provide a lot of value. The best thing he does have going for him is equipping a gun, so that's pretty much your limit as far as you can go with this primary ability set. With his lack of flexibility and adaptability, despite his awesome speed stat growth rating, it's pretty tough to make an argument to keep Mustadio as a machinist. and I don't really recommend him for PvP. We're making our way now into the mid-tier, and at the bottom, number 10, Beowulf. Beowulf is a mystic knight. So, like a knight, he has access to armor and knight swords, shields, but his primary ability set, while it seems powerful, it's an instant cast mystic arts. It relies on faith. As a result, Beowulf's primary ability set is incredibly diminished. It's just, if only his primary ability set worked on magic attack power instead of faith, he would be ranking a lot higher than where he is now. Next up at number 9, Meliadoul. Meliadoul is a divine knight, and that means she has access to knight swords, shields, armor, robes, and being a female, also perfumes and hair adornments. She can be equipped quite nicely. Her ability set is also quite nice. All 4 abilities break a different piece of equipment, whether it's your helmet, your accessory, your armor, your weapon even. So why is she in the mid tier? Everything sounds great. She has one fatal flaw, and that's called Safeguard. If you're playing PvP with special characters, you're gonna learn real fast. Safeguard is an auto take ability. Even with a decent physical attack and HP growth, Meliadoul's single fatal flaw keeps her from being higher on our ranking system. Coming up at number 8, Rapha. Rapha is a unique kind of magician called a Sky Seer, and her AoE attacks hit between 1 and 10 times in that 5 square radius. And that's random. So you can't guarantee that the target you're trying to hit is actually going to be hit. But there is a chance they could be hit 10 times. Now, if you're willing to take that chance and you can deal with a little bit of casting time, Rapha is not that bad of a choice. She even has decent MP and pretty good MA growth, so keeping her as a Sky Seer is a decent choice. Topping off our mid-tier list at number 7 is Marach. Marach is exactly like his sister Rapha in that his abilities strike randomly. The difference with Marach's abilities is his low faith actually comes into play. Marach did rank slightly higher than his sister, only because he has slightly better physical attack growth and slightly better HP growth. Changing Marach later on into a ninja or even a dark knight is always a good idea, but leaving him as another seer isn't a bad choice for PvP as well. We're now entering the high tier, and starting us off at number 6 is Luso. Luso is a Ramza clone. So if you like Ramza, you're gonna love Luso. He's very flexible, he can excel at pretty much any job, but with access to pretty much every type of equipment and great stats and stat growth, you can just leave Luso as is and keep him as a support character for the rest of your party. Next at number 5, Ramza. I don't want to go into too much about Ramza. He's everyone's favorite character, and he's got a great ability set that is awesome for supporting your other troops. While he doesn't really excel at dealing out a lot of damage, don't underestimate being able to buff himself with Shout, giving others speed with Tailwind, and just all around being a tough little unit that can dish out damage with melee if he needs to. So with great stats, great stat growth, I prefer leaving Ramza as is, your general little squire. Coming in at number 4, Reis in human form. Getting Reis to human form involves a little bit of a side quest, but it is so worth it. Reis has great HP growth, great physical attack growth, and good speed growth. So this is shaping her up to be an amazing melee combatant. Her primary ability set isn't anything to write home about, but that's not why you're using her. You're using her because she has access to perfumes, hair adornments, and armor like Minerva Bustier. Now, Reis can't equip any abilities, but this doesn't really seem to be that bad because she does come with dual wield innately. So if you're looking for a rugged melee unit that can just dish out melee damage, don't overlook Reis. At the very top of our high tier at number 3, Agrias. Agrias is an inspirational character in the story, and she will inspire you in PvP as well. Abilities like Stasis Sword and Hollow Bolt hit in an AoE and do additional status effects. Divine Ruination can end a match if your opponent is reckless enough to line everybody up in a straight line. Agrias has amazing HP and physical attack stat growth, so just leaving her as a Holy Knight will serve you very well. It's time now to enter the super tier. At number 2, Orlandeau. Getting Orlandeau on your team is truly a day to remember. At that point, the storyline becomes irrelevant. You really only need to send in him and Ramza to finish the battle. But in PvP, things change a little bit. You can still expect Orlandeau to be a massive powerhouse for you. However, because everybody is going to be taking Safeguard, you can pretty much get rid of all of his breaking abilities. That does leave him on par with Agrias at that point, but he does come with the Dark Knight abilities Shadowblade and Duskblade, which allows him to refill his own HP and MP if you're using Mana Shield, like it should. Orlandeau has great stat growth, of course has access to Knight Swords and amazing equipment. I would say just leave him as a Sword Saint and send him in as is. And now, at the very top of our list, the king, Balthier. Flashy Balthier from Final Fantasy XII is just simply amazing. This character comes at us able to equip pretty much everything, no joke. Guns, Knight Swords, armor, clothes. What more do you want? Now, if his equipment selection wasn't enough to auto-include him just from the myriad array of possibilities he can concoct, there is one ability that cannot be overlooked, and that's Barrage. 4 attacks. That's what Barrage delivers for you. Whether it's at range, or whether it's with your Knight Sword, you swing 4 times. So you got a guy that can equip anything, attacks 4 times. Did we mention he has the highest speed stat growth in the game? Well, we just did. And that should convince you why Balthier ranks number 1 out of all the special characters. As they say, that's a wrap. Thank you for joining us once again. And I hope that you learned a little something about the special characters in Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions. If you haven't gotten all the special characters because you haven't gotten through the storyline, this might inspire you to play a little bit more, get them in your party, and start dominating with them. Thanks to their unique abilities, special characters give you a new avenue to approach how you build for PvP, and that really take advantage of those great stats that these special characters offer you. As always, I want to encourage discussion, so if you have ideas for builds for these special characters, let me know in the comments. Let's talk about it. And grab a friend, because Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions is so much better to experience with somebody else. Not just for PvP, but to experience the storyline together, to talk about the characters, talk about your favorite builds. And hopefully with more discussion, we can grow the community together and make Final Fantasy Tactics PvP an actual competitive esports type event. Thank you again for watching. This is Mikey from Final Fantasy Tactics Live Tournament signing off. I'll see you in the next video, and until then, be well.